This time on RowAlong.
I'd like to have an argument, please.
If you thought my video about where to store the handle raised some folks' blood pressure,
wait till they get a load of me.
So let's start with a less contentious issue, and that is, what way round do you hold the handle? Do you have an overhand grip or do you have an underhand grip? Now I'm hoping that most people at home watching this are shouting at the screen, this is a bit easy, it's an overhand grip, because of course you hold the handle when rowing with an overhand grip. If you are rowing with an underhand grip, go do some bicep curls instead, okay? Leave the rowing machine for an overhand rowing action and let someone who wants to row use the machine while you're in the corner working on your guns. If you row with an overhand grip, you will also activate the rest of your biceps, giving you even better guns for the beach. So make sure and have that overhand grip when rowing. Next up, how wide do you hold the handle? Now, the simplest way to think about this is just shoulder width, okay? So relax your arms, put them out in front of you, hold the handle, and they will naturally fall into a point. Why? Because this is all about the chain of power going through your body, okay? So you push on the foot plates, it comes through your posterior chain, into your shoulders, into your arms, into the wrist, into the machine, and whoosh, you go nice and fast, okay? If you close your hands in too tight, you're kind of choking off that power chain, okay? And you're suddenly fighting against it and you're not letting it flow through. So just naturally shoulder width apart. So for me, what that means is that my hands are kind of at either end of the handle, my pinkies are almost falling off the side. Now, it may be that you're an on-the-water rower and you've got a slightly different approach to how you hold the handle. I don't know. But for indoor rowing on a rowing machine, just shoulder width is the best way to hold it. Next up is grip. Now this has two halves to it. The first one should be okay, but the second half is probably when we start to throw stuff at each other, okay? So the first part is, how tight do you hold the handle? And the answer to that is not, okay? You are not choking the life out of it. This isn't a snake that you're trying to fight, okay? So it's not about closed tight fists and with tight rigid arms. You want to have fingers hooked over the handle, okay? So it's nice and loose, and you've basically got airflow through your palm. And there's reasons for this. First one is about that power chain, okay? So with the fingers hooked over the handle, it has a nice straight line right through the top of your palm, into your fingers, braced against the handle, whoosh, you go fast, okay? Also, it creates airflow, okay? So you get a little bit of air going through your palm, which is going to reduce the chances of your hands getting sweaty. And of course, sweat makes your skin moist and soft, and that's what's going to cause blisters prematurely. And then the last one is just a little bit of length. The difference between having your fingers hooked and then tightening up is around about 1 centimetre, not loads of length, but that centimetre could be an extra couple of watts, which means you can go a little bit faster. Okay, so do not choke the life out of it. You're not nice and relaxed, okay? Tension is your enemy when it comes to rowing. Next up though, your thumbs. What do you do with those pesky thumbs? And this is where the arguments start, because people can be very passionate about this. Now, I'm going to say what I do and what my advice is, and what I've read is basically the more wider advice. I know there are other people out there who row differently to how I'm going to suggest, and that's what causes the arguments. So, do you row with your thumbs on top of the handle or underneath the handle? Now, if you read enough into this, what you'll find is most people will suggest that you have your thumbs underneath the handle when you're rowing. Now, I know that there are a lot of fast people out there that row with their thumbs on top, so I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's two reasons why I would suggest that you row with your thumbs underneath the handle. First one is handle security, let's say, it's a good word for it. If you're the type of rower that grips, okay, death grip, so you're creating sweaty palms and your thumbs are on top of the handle, as you're rowing, your hands are going to get sweaty and slippy, and there's a chance that the handle's going to slip out of your hands, okay? Because you don't have your thumb underneath to catch it. Now, not only is that annoying because you have to pick it up and start like rowing again, but there's a chance it's going to nudge the battery in the monitor, and if you're in the middle of a race and that happens and it turns off your monitor, your world's going to end. Well, not world's going to end, but you get what I mean. The other one is about power transfer, okay? So I've already said about the importance of your posterior chain, that you push with your feet, it comes up through your body, through your arms, through your hands into the machine, okay? With your thumbs underneath, that's a perfect straight line. The moment you put your thumbs on top of the handle, it just puts like a squiggle, okay? Your muscles and things shift to the side very slightly, and you no longer get that straight power into the front. Now, I've got into a few discussions, because I've said this a couple of times in my RowAlong workouts before, and people have got in touch and said, no, I think you're wrong. And so in that case, I've got in touch with them again and said, no, I think I'm right. So send me a video, and I've asked them to send me a video of them rowing, and pretty much everybody that argues with me about this, as they come into the catch, they do this. and they suddenly have this early arm kind of elbow bend. So they come in and they go up. And what that little elbow bend does is it effectively undoes that squiggle from having the thumb on top and gives them the straight line of power again. But the problem is that because they've done that early arm bend, they've suddenly activated their shoulders and their biceps and their forearms. And they're now fighting against that power from the feet. Rather than having straight arms and just letting it flow all the way through, their biceps are now kind of like bracing and fighting against it, and they're kind of soaking up some of that power. So they're not getting all of the power from their feet into the machine that they could be getting, but also because they've got that early arm bend, when it comes to suddenly coming in to the finish, they've lost like that much of an arm bend. Only a couple of inches, but if we're at the point of arguing about thumbs on top or underneath the handle, I think that couple of inches, that extra second, that extra 10 watts of power is probably going to mean quite a lot to you. So the difference between being able to pull like the whole range or starting from there and only getting that much could be enough that could just mean that little bit more speed, power, pace, whatever you want, okay? But the other thing, I mean, let's face it, the reason that I bang on about technique so much is about rowing efficiency, so you can go as fast as you want for as long as you want, but also about injury prevention. And if you're the kind of person that rows with your thumbs on top and does that early arm bend, that little elbow bend, that gets right into here, right into where you get tennis elbow. So if you've got that early arm bend and you're pulling and everything's forced right through here, and you've got tennis elbow, that's probably that's what's happening here, is that early arm bend, that thumbs on top, everything, all the force, especially when you start getting stroke ranges up to kind of like 600 strokes or more in a session. That kind of repeated pain that goes through, or that force that goes through your forearm could be what's causing you that tennis elbow. And it must be said, I mean, lots of people that are proponents of thumbs on top, I find, especially because I'm training for HYROX right now, which is lots of running, and then in the middle of it, there's lots of different things to do, one of which is a 1,000 meter row. And there's lots of rowers in HYROX that are really fast that say, I row fine with my thumbs on top, but it's a 1K row that they're doing. And what you see most of them doing is an early backswing, and then they're absolutely beasting the handle into their chest. They're all very strong and powerful, which is absolutely fine. But the thing is, they're only really rowing for like 3 minutes. They're not doing kind of longer training sessions. That's all they do. And actually, if they had slightly better technique with the thumbs underneath and they use that backswing, they'd probably be going faster and rowing more efficiently and not be as tired for the rest of their session. But that's another video, to be fair. And then there's this guy, just to finish off the video. This is video from the 2019 World Indoor Rowing Championships, which were California, I believe. He wins the race. He does a 6:09.2 so super fast, but look what's going on with his hands. One moment his hands are nice and wide at like shoulder width with his thumbs underneath. The next moment he's got his thumbs on top of the handle and he's got a narrow grip, as if to show to everybody that in fact this is all about what makes it comfortable and fast for you, which is pretty much true, okay? There's best practices to show new rowers to make sure that they're rowing safely, but in the end, as long as you're rowing as fast as you want and you're not getting injured, what does it matter? Especially on a rowing machine. It's different on a boat where you actually have to do certain things, but on a rowing machine, if I could row a 6:09.2 standing on my head, I would, okay? So I'm not here saying that you have to row a perfect rowing stroke and then that makes you slower. No, I want you to go as fast and efficiently and as safely as you can, and that's why I make these videos, okay? So for more videos like this, hopefully less ranty, and some free RowAlong workouts, please do have a look around the rest of this channel, and I'll hopefully see you in one of them. Until then, please take care of yourselves, be well, bye-bye.